What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Comic Breakdown. If you guys are new to the channel, do me a favor, hit that sub button, hit that notification bell, make sure you're not missing any of the awesome content that we have coming out. Continuing on with our Indie Comics Weekend. You guys read that title right. We are getting back into Once and Future. This is a comic published by Boom Studios, written by Kieron Gillen, illustrated by Dan Mora, colored by Tamara Bonvillain, and it is lettered by Ed Dukeshire. And if you have been a fan of my page for a while, you will know that we were covering Once and Future probably like a year and a half ago. We got hit with some copyright stuff, so that's when I decided to revamp the channel, take out the text, all that good stuff. Ever since then, though, I have been a little bit hesitant to jump back into Once and Future. But I'm hoping now, with all of the changes that we have made over the time period, that we're really not going to have any issues with copyright problems. Because this is arguably one of my favorite stories that is currently ongoing. Kieron Gillen, who is currently writing all of the Eternal stuff going on leading up to the Avengers X-Men Eternals Judgment Day. And Dan Mora, man, he has been illustrating everything. They're jumping us into all of the mythology, all of the legends, the lore that surrounds humankind. From Arthurian lore all the way over to Beowulf. From vampires to werewolves. From Lancelot to Merlin. We're getting a little bit of everything. This is not a comic you are gonna want to miss. So be sure, buy the comic, support the industry, and with that being said, let's dive into this breakdown. Alright gang, so as we dive into this issue, we are picking up in Cornwall, Great Britain. We have a red-haired doctor who is at an archaeology site. At this site, there are many items that they have dug up here, some of it believing to be 6th, maybe even 5th century. On the table in front of them is a sheath to a sword. As the doctor looks at this, recognizing it to be genuine, she quickly walks out of the room and 3 other individuals come in. This guy not really understanding what is about to happen. They let him know that they are here to take England back, shooting this guy and taking the sheath. We are taken over to Somerset. This is where Gran lives. Her first name being Bridgette. She lives here in this nursing home, learning very quickly that she is a no-nonsense woman. Listening to the news, she hears of this sheath being stolen. As she goes outside on a stroll to have a cigarette, we pick up in Bristol. This is where we have Duncan and Rose. Duncan is the grandson to Bridgette. And Rose, this is a work associate that he is currently on his first date with. And right off the bat, we can see how poorly this is going because he spilled wine all the way down the front of her. As this date is just going south, this is where Gran gives him a call, taking this call in the middle of their first date. It was the nursing home letting it be known that Gran had wandered off, that she is somewhere out in the woods and he has to go look for her, letting Rose know that he is gonna have to end this date early. And though she's a little bit disappointed in it, it was already going very bad from the start. So a brief date is better than the worst date ever, telling him that he will have another opportunity to take her out again to go take care of his grandmother. Picking up a little bit later, he has made his way to Somerset in the middle of the woods. And Gran right now, she appears to be trying to lift up some kind of hatch that has been dug into the ground. At this point, Duncan is trying to figure out what the heck is going on. Like, what is Grandma doing? Why is she doing all this? Why is she in the middle of freaking nowhere? Letting him know that she just forgot a few things. A few things that she needed to come grab. As Duncan lifts this up, what he finds is an entire freaking armory. Weapons of all kinds of different shapes and sizes. We are quickly learning that Bridgette is no ordinary grandma. In fact, she is a hunter of the supernatural. That at one point in her time, she had even been a vampire hunter. Of course, Duncan, he's still confused, trying to figure out what his gran is even talking about. She says that it's really complicated and it's better that he doesn't know the story. She is trying to keep him at arm's length while she needs his assistance because she's an older lady. The truth of the matter, she is actively working to keep him as far away from this as possible, just like she has done his entire life. But off in the distance, this is where they hear a noise. This noise is a questing beast, and this thing, it pops up all across Arthurian lore, as well as modern day stuff, more like along the lines of D&D, so on and so forth. But it truly found its roots back in Arthurian lore, in many of the medieval texts. A questing beast is the representation of the absurdity of a knightly quest, and it serves as White's way to deflate the notion of the quest as the route to knightly glory, telling Duncan that he needs to run. He starts hightailing it, and the questing beast is right behind him. Gran had done this to get an opportunity to find a weapon that might be able to stop the questing beast. As she goes through all of her armory, she tells Duncan to lead it back, as he is barely able to escape the clutches of this furious beast. Gran throws the spear to Duncan, he grabs hold of it, and he stands his ground, letting it be known that this was all that was needed. The questing beast turning around and going in the opposite direction, also letting it be known that the questing beast will more than likely make its appearance at another time. At least for the time being, they have to focus on the task at hand. That if we go chasing down every single beast that we find, it is just going to continue to lead us in circles. And of course, Duncan at this point, he's on the point of a freaking nervous breakdown. He's about to have a panic attack because he just got chased by an animal crossed between multiple different animals. Some kind of giant serpent beast, and he was able to scare it away with a spear. He is trying to figure out what is going on. What is going on with all of this supernatural craziness? All of this craziness that his gran once told him was nonsense. And while Gran, she definitely believes it to be nonsense, that doesn't make it any less real. But not really having any time for small talk, finding exactly what she needs, she lets Duncan know that they have very limited time to stop them. That someone has gotten a hold of that scabbard, and that if they don't stop them, all of England could be in jeopardy. Duncan, unwilling to do this, saying that he is taking her directly back to the nursing home. We see Gran grab a gun. She points it at him and lets him know that we are doing this whether you like it or not. Not believing that his grandmother would shoot him, she pulls that trigger and it grazes his ear. Quickly recognizing that Gran is not messing around, he grabs the equipment and he heads out. Gran apologizing to him, letting him know that her hands aren't as stable as they once were, that she's a little bit shaky in her old age. But at the end of the day, he is alright and she doesn't have time to explain all of this to him. But Duncan, trying to figure out what is so important about all of this, is that sheath. There is something magical about it. It had belonged to an old warlord, and the unique property that it has is magic, able to heal the individual that wields it. Even with these very unique properties, it is less known than the sword that goes inside of it, because the sword that this thing holds is Excalibur. And if Duncan hasn't seen or heard enough, Gran is now talking about the sword of history, the most famous sword of all time, Excalibur. And so what Gran believes is that with that sheath, they are going to try to bring Arthur back to life. Someone is always trying to fulfill some kind of prophecy. And though history portrays King Arthur as the knight in shining armor, the great savior of England, the man that is said to return in Britain's darkest hour, there is always something about prophecies, because a prophecy can be taken in two different directions. King Arthur could return in Britain's darkest hour, or his return could be the cause of it. And that will be the end of this issue. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. You know, Once and Future has been arguably one of my favorite comics to come from Boom Studios. It is filled with history and lore and fantasy, a little bit of Dungeons and Dragons, a little bit of modern times, wielding freaking pistols and all kinds of crazy weapons. And if you guys enjoyed this first issue, I promise you, hang on to your seats because it is going on for one heck of a ride. I believe there's roughly like 25 issues that are currently out right now. You can go on Comixology, get it for super cheap. If you have Comixology Unlimited, I believe that you can read the first volume for free. But definitely go out, pick this up. You're not gonna want to miss it. I love Arthurian lore. I love all of this supernatural stuff. I absolutely love Bridgette, the gun-toting, smoking granny who is out here freaking hunting down mythology and supernatural. You know, I never got into that TV show Supernatural. I made it a few seasons in, but I just couldn't keep up with it. If it had actually been something like this, there would have been no doubt that I watched every single minute of it. But yeah, let me know your thoughts, let me know your theories. If you would like to support the channel, you can always do so by hitting the Super Thanks button. This button will let you donate directly to the channel, and every little bit helps us out. Now, if you can't do that, do me a favor, hit that sub button, hit that notification bell, make sure you like this video, and until the next breakdown.